So, if you've been living under a rock for the past 9 months, let me catch you up real quick. Vitaly, the same dude who used to pull pranks on YouTube and storm football fields, has been locked up in a Philippine prison this entire time. And I'm not talking about some cushy celebrity jail. We're talking cockroaches, 100-degree heat, dollar meals, the whole 9 yards. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. He just got deported to Russia, and the internet is losing its mind because nobody knows what's going to happen next. His entire empire, we're talking 70 million pounds, potentially gone. His career, probably done. And Russia, man, that's a whole different nightmare. So buckle up, because we're about to break down everything that just happened, what Vitaly's been through, and honestly, whether this dude even has a future anymore. Let's get into it. All right, so let's rewind to April 2025. Vitaly's out in the Philippines doing what he does best, being an absolute menace for content. We're talking harassment streams, messing with locals, trying to steal stuff, just pure chaos. Now look, I get it. Shock value gets views. That's literally been his whole career. But this time he crossed a line that the Philippine government was not about to let slide. President Marcos, and I'm talking about the actual president of the Philippines, came out and said Vitaly's actions made his blood boil. When you got a whole president talking about you by name, you know you messed up bad. This wasn't just some local police situation anymore. This became a national issue. The government wanted to make an example out of him, and honestly, they absolutely did. So they arrested him on multiple charges: unjust vexation, theft, public harassment, the whole list. And here's the thing that's crazy. Most people thought he'd just get deported real quick, maybe banned from the country, slap on the wrist type situation. But nah, the Philippine authorities had other plans. They specifically said they were not gonna deport him right away because they didn't want him just hopping over to another Asian country and pulling the same garbage. Interior Secretary John Vic Remula, this is the guy who basically became Vitaly's worst nightmare, made it crystal clear. They were gonna make sure Vitaly learned his lesson. And during that first press conference, when they were deciding his fate, Vitaly showed absolutely zero remorse. Like, this dude was smirking, giving himself a round of applause when they showed his clips in court, just being completely disrespectful to their entire justice system. That sealed his fate right there. Now let me paint you a picture of where Vitaly spent the last 9 months, because this is genuinely insane. A YouTube lawyer described it as jail hell, and that's not an exaggeration. We're talking about Camp Bagong Diwa, one of the Philippine detention facilities that's known for being absolutely brutal. First off, no air conditioning, none. And the average temperature in there is 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about that for a second. You're sitting in a cell that feels like an oven, sweating 24/7, and you can't escape it. Then you got the overcrowding situation. These cells are packed like sardines. Multiple inmates crammed into spaces that were never designed to hold that many people. The hygiene conditions are historically terrible. We're talking bugs everywhere, unsanitary everything, just absolutely disgusting living conditions. And the food? His daily meals cost about $1.20. Let me repeat that, $1.20. This is the same dude who was supposedly making $500,000 a month at his peak from YouTube ad revenue alone. The same guy who paid Quavo $300,000 for a cameo that never even happened. Now he's eating dollar meals and probably losing his mind in the process. The photos that came out recently showed a completely different person. Gone is the clean-cut Vitaly with the designer clothes and the Lamborghinis. Now we're looking at someone with a massive beard, long, unkempt hair, and you can see it in his eyes that those 9 months changed him. People were comparing him to the Liver King, which is wild. But more than that, you could see the weight loss, the exhaustion, just the complete mental and physical toll this took on him. And here's something nobody's really talking about. There were rumors floating around that something horrible happened to him in there. People were saying his hands got cut off, all kinds of crazy stuff. That turned out to be a hoax, but the fact that people even believed it shows you how brutal everyone knew those conditions were. So fast forward to January 15th, 2026. Remula called a press conference, and you could see Vitaly standing there looking completely defeated. This was not the same cocky dude from 9 months ago. The Philippine authorities announced that all his criminal cases in Taguig City were resolved. His penalties were considered served, and he was officially getting deported. But here's where it gets complicated. Both the United States and Russia initially didn't want him. Let that sink in. The dude holds a US green card. His mom lives in America. But the US was like, nah, we're good. Russia, his birth country, also wasn't exactly rolling out the red carpet. But according to immigration law, you gotta go back to your country of origin. And since his passport is Russian, that's where he's going. Remula made this whole speech about how the Philippines welcomes tourists, but expects them to respect the rules. He said they have no ill feelings against Vitaly, that he showed remorse, which honestly, I'm not sure I buy that, and that he served his time. It was basically a, we made our point, now get out type situation. The Bureau of Immigration confirmed they're working with Russian authorities to finalize everything. He's supposedly heading to Moscow in the coming weeks. And this is where Vitaly's nightmare is really just beginning. because Russia is about to be a completely different kind of prison for his career. Let's talk money, because this is where things get absolutely brutal. Before his arrest, Vitaly's net worth was estimated anywhere from $7 million to $91 million. That's a huge range, but it shows you how volatile his income was. At his absolute peak, he claimed he was making $500,000 a month just from YouTube ads. His channel has over 10 million subscribers and generated more than 1.5 billion views over the years. But the second he got arrested, everything started falling apart. His Kick streaming account got banned immediately for disturbing the peace. That was his main revenue source in 2025. No more live streams means no more donations, no more sponsorships, no more super chats, nothing. For 9 months, he couldn't produce any content, couldn't manage his investments, couldn't do anything to maintain his income streams. And it gets worse. He had diversified investments in real estate and stocks, but when you're locked up in a Philippine prison, you can't exactly manage those effectively. The liquidity he had is probably gone. Remember that $300,000 Quavo payment that never materialized? That's the kind of reckless spending he was known for. Now imagine 9 months of legal fees, inability to generate income, and all his platforms cracking down on him. Industry observers are saying his net worth has likely plummeted. We're talking a potential loss of tens of millions. His whole empire that he built on shock value and controversy is crumbling, and there's basically nothing he can do about it. Now here's the real kicker. Even if Vitaly somehow still has money left, Russia is about to make it nearly impossible for him to rebuild his career. And I'm not even exaggerating. Let me break down what he's walking into. First, YouTube monetization has been blocked in Russia since 2022. So even if he starts uploading again, he's not making a dime from ad revenue. Instagram and Facebook are blocked in the country. TikTok live streaming is not allowed. His entire social media empire that he built his career on is basically unavailable to him now. But it gets even worse for someone like Vitaly. Russia has strict internet censorship laws and regulations against disseminating hostile content. Guess what Vitaly's entire career has been built on? Hostile content. Pranks, harassment streams, predator catching, nuisance behavior. All of it falls under what Russia considers restricted content. So even if he wanted to continue his old style of content, he literally can't do it without risking serious legal trouble in Russia. And considering he just spent 9 months in a Philippine prison, I don't think he's eager to test the Russian justice system. Plus, with international sanctions on Russia, the whole market for content creators there is severely limited. Western platforms don't work the same way. Payment processing is complicated, it's a mess. Basically, Vitaly is walking into a situation where his career as he knew it is pretty much dead. No monetization, no access to major platforms, restrictive laws, and a market that can't support the kind of content empire he used to have.
So what does the future actually look like for Vitaly?
Honestly, it's looking pretty grim. Let's be real here. He can't come back to America anytime soon. His US residency status is questionable at best after this whole ordeal. His green card might not even matter anymore, depending on how immigration handles his case. He has no family ties in Russia. His mom lives in the States. He spent most of his life in America building his career. Now he's being sent to a country where he's essentially a stranger with a criminal record and no way to make money doing what he used to do. Some people are speculating he might try to reinvent himself. Maybe go the redemption arc route, talk about his experiences, do some kind of reformed influencer thing. But let's be honest, Vitaly's brand has always been chaos and controversy. A reformed Vitaly trying to give life advice is not exactly going to pull the same numbers. There's also the question of whether other platforms will even give him a chance. Kick already banned him. YouTube might not be too welcoming if he tries to come back. And with his reputation now attached to a 9-month prison sentence for harassment in a foreign country, sponsors aren't exactly going to be lining up. The reality is, Vitaly might just fade into obscurity. 9 months in jail hell, deportation to Russia, financial collapse, career suicide. This might genuinely be the end of the Vitaly era. And while some people think he got what he deserved for the way he acted, others feel like 9 months in those conditions was punishment enough. Look, at the end of the day, Vitaly made his choices. He built a career on pushing boundaries and disrespecting people for views, and eventually, that caught up with him in the worst way possible. The Philippine government made their example. He served his time in conditions that were genuinely horrific, and now he's being shipped off to Russia where his career is basically dead on arrival. Whether you think the punishment fit the crime or not, one thing's for sure. This is a massive fall from grace. From making $500,000 a month to eating dollar meals in a sweltering cell. from Lamborghinis and mansions to whatever life awaits him in Moscow. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when content creation goes too far. But yo, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you think Vitaly deserved everything that happened to him? Do you feel bad for the guy? And what do you think he should do next? Can he even rebuild his career? Or is it completely over? Drop your thoughts below. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.